Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Soshtvi and today we're discussing every book I read in April. So I read about 6 books in April, sort of, maybe, I'm not sure, we'll get to it. But yeah, let's dive into all the books I read in April. So the first book I read this month is City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. This is a shadow hunter book. If you don't know about these, they're basically about these people called shadow hunters. They're half angel and half human, and their job is to just kill demons on Earth. And we have multiple series set in this universe in these chronicles. Every series tackles a different set of shadow hunters, but they're all interconnected somehow. If you haven't read these, it is a vast universe to get into. There's a lot of books, so it can be intimidating, but I do highly recommend it regardless. I read these books first when I was about 13 or 14 years old. I've been reading them since then. You have your highs and lows with the books because there's so many, but I'm sure you can find some series that you really end up liking. My personal favorites are the Clockwork series, the Infernal Devices, also the Dark Artificer series. The book that I reread, it was a reread, is part of the original story. It's the finale to the original two series that we got in this world. Since it's the finale book and it was a reread of that finale book, I can't really go into detail about what it was about, but that's basically the gist of it. It's like an urban fantasy. It's super fun. We follow a set of different characters. We have vampires and werewolves and these shadow hunters. It's political. There's a lot of romance, a lot of forbidden romances. Um, it's a fun time. I would recommend. I love this main series because they have given me some of my favorite characters and I grew up reading them, but I must say that the other books in this world are far better than the main series, but you enjoy them all the same. I think I've always said this, that Cassie Clare books, you go to them for fun, to truly just have a lot of fun and fall in love with characterization. So yeah, that's the first book I read this month. And then I read The Secrets of Blackthorn Hall. I don't know if you should count it as a book or not. This is basically two characters from another series set in the Shadowhunter universe. It's about them and their adventures in this house. It is connected to the main series as well, and she posted all these, it's a collection of stories that she posted on Tumblr basically. I think about a few years ago, and now those collection of stories are getting published, I think next year or the year after. I mean, it is turning into a real book, so I don't know. I think for me, I will count it as another book that I read. Yeah, The Secrets of Blackthorn Hall is another book that I read, again part of the Shadowhunter universe. Like I said, would recommend. Then the next book I read was one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and that was The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. Now, I have a whole reading vlog dedicated to this. I've given all my thoughts, all my opinions on this book in there. So I'll link that down below if you want to check that out and see my real in-depth thoughts about it. But overall, I would say this was not bad. It wasn't anything great like I imagined it to be, but that's probably just my expectations. But it was pretty good. I am a huge fan of this author. I love all her other books. So yeah, it was nice, it was good. It was just not all the greatness that it could have been. It had a lot more potential. It was also really slow to pick up. I feel like this book could have been a lot more smaller than it was. If you don't know what it's about this girl named Belle. She's about 18 years old, and 16 years ago her mom had disappeared, okay, without a trace. It was one of the biggest mysteries for people, like what happened to her. Did someone take her? Did she run away? No clues about anything. And now 16 years later, we have people who are making a documentary about her. So they're interviewing Belle and her family, and in the midst of this documentary being filmed, Rachel, who was Belle's mom, reappears. She comes back, and there's obviously a lot of like hoo-ha about where was she all these years, what happened to her, did someone take her, how did she come back, and is she telling the truth about her reappearance. It's an investigation that Belle launches into what really happened, and that's what the premise is about. So like I said, promising premise. It could have been a lot larger and bigger and more powerful than it turned out to be, but it was still fun. Holly Jackson is really good at writing her characters and her stories. You enjoy the writing even though it's YA. So yeah, I rated this, I think, a 3.75 or a 4. I still don't know what to rate this fully, so yeah, that's where I'm at. The book I read after that was again another anticipated release for this year, which was Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This is a novella that comes after Powerless, which is book 1 in this series. Powerless, if you've been watching my channel, it's one of my favorite reads of this year. 5 on 5, that book is brilliance. It's a fantasy dystopian. It's very Hunger Games inspired, which again, I love Hunger Games. And it's about this world where we have people with powers, people without powers, and we have a main character who is trying to exist in this world pretending that she has powers. And we have like an epic slow burn enemies to lovers romance. It's just, Powerless was everything to me. I highly recommend that book. I have a video dedicated to that book as well, linked down below if you want to see all my thoughts about that one. And Powerful is about the main character of that book, her best friend. So while in that book we had the characters Peyton and Kai, and they're very like, they're snarky and they're bad asses and they have their walls up, those kind of characters. The characters in here are a lot more different, especially her best friend. Her name's Adina, and she's a lot more soft and loving and kind and gentle and nurturing, and she's a lot more dreamier, you know. So that's the main character of this book, and it's her love interest. It's just, it was really sweet. If you've read Powerless, you know what this book means, you know what the ending of this book means to us. I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, to be honest. Novellas usually for me are just like a read and go, whatever kind of a thing. But this one actually I quite enjoyed. I think if one thing Lauren Roberts can do right, it's write about love. Like, I haven't come across an author who writes about love the way she does. It's so beautiful and swoon-worthy. I think I rated this around a 4 stars, 3.5 or 4. Again, my ratings this month are all over the place. I'm very unsure about my ratings this time. It was honestly pretty enjoyable, and obviously I love visiting these characters again. So I would read anything she writes about these characters, to be honest. So yeah, I would recommend Powerless and Powerful. The book I read next was a book I actually almost entirely read at the beach, which was Betting on You by Lynn Painter. And honestly, if you want a beach read, if you're looking for the perfect book to read at a beach, this is it. It's such a summer read. It really gives you that beautiful, like, fun rom-com summer vibes, and there's also a little bit of a road trip that happens in the middle of this book. So yeah, I would highly recommend it for that. Lynn Painter is known for writing her cute little YA rom-coms. I have read Better Than the Movies by her before, and I enjoyed it. I quite liked it. So I thought I'd pick this up and see how I'd feel about this. And honestly, I think I like this more. People love Better Than the Movies. It's like a very hyped book talk book. But I just feel like this was better. I have a video dedicated to all my thoughts about this, which I know I never thought I'd make a dedicated book video about a romance book, but I just had a lot to say about this one. So a video on that will be coming. This honestly had the potential of being a full 5 stars for me. It did not happen because of a certain few things, but regardless, it was a really fun read. It was really cute. I loved the characters, I loved the story, I loved the plot. It's basically about Bailey and Charlie. They met at an airport once and did not like each other, because that's how a romance starts. And eventually a few years later they meet again at their workplace, and they start forming a little bit of friendship and then falling into love, all those things. And that's basically the story here. It was just really sweet, and I actually really liked Charlie in this book. And I mentioned this in my book talk as well, but one of the reasons why I liked him so much is because he's like a YA version of JJ from Outer Banks, and I love JJ. So yeah, I really liked Charlie in this book, and I really liked Bailey as well, to be honest. Like, it's a really good book. I would recommend Betting on You. And the last book I read was something really different for me, for the books that I've usually read, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. This is a dark academia fantasy, and I've also heard it be described as a gothic romantic fantasy. So those are the vibes of this book. It's a standalone, and it's so good, you guys. Like, I feel like one of the things I wrote, I take a lot of notes in my books, right? So one of the things I wrote about this book was that the story is an all-encompassing type of story. Like, you know, sometimes you read a story and it just surrounds you, and that's what reading this book felt like. I really took my time with reading this book because I was just having so much fun in it. It's a very immersing world, very different as well, and I really don't know how to describe the plot, so I'm going to read it to you. So Effie has always believed in fairy tales. She's had no choice. Since childhood, she's been haunted by visions of the Fairy King and found solace only in the pages of Angharad, Emrys Melian's beloved epic about a mortal girl who falls in love with the Fairy King and then destroys him. Effie's tattered copy is all that's keeping her afloat through her stifling first term at her prestigious architecture college. So, when the late author's family announces a contest to redesign his house, Effie feels certain this is her destiny. But Hirayat Manor is an impossible task, a musty, decrepit estate on the brink of crumbling into a hungry sea. And when Effie arrives, she finds she isn't the only one who's made a temporary home there. Preston Hughley, a stodgy young literature scholar, is studying Melian's papers and is determined to prove her favorite author is a fraud. As the two rival students investigate the reclusive author's legacy, piecing together clues through his letters, books, and diaries, they discover that the house's foundation isn't the only thing that can't be trusted. There are dark forces, both mortal and magical, conspiring against them, and the truth may bring them both to ruin. So, as you can tell, it's a very unique story. Like, I haven't ever read anything like this, and honestly, this has just gotten me interested to read more dark academia books because I haven't read one before, and I don't know why, because I feel like the genre would be really up my alley. And I'm also excited to check out the other books by this author because she's a really good writer. The book also has a very gentle romance in it, and it's not in the forefront of the plot for sure. The forefront is definitely the fantasy and the mystery that's going on with her. And also, there's a little bit of a personal struggle that she's been facing for a while that's also part of the main plot. So, the romance is definitely not the main plot, but it's really nice to have it there. And I must say, two things I must say. It was very easy for me to figure out all the plot twists. Like, it wasn't like something too hard to figure out what the answers could be. So, yeah, it is fairly predictable, at least to me. And B, I do want to issue a trigger warning for sexual assault and harassment. Just know that that is a main theme that we're dealing with in this book. It's not graphic in any way, but yes, that is something that we've been contemplating about throughout the story. But yeah, the character's journey is a very, very big part of the story. There's this really big theme throughout the book about reality versus fantasy. It's just a beautiful exploration. Honestly, I would highly recommend the book. I gave this like a 4.5 out of 5 stars, I think. So yeah, Study in Drowning, please, highly, highly, highly recommend. I wish I'd made a video really book talking in detail about this book, but yeah. Also, the cover is like stunning. Can we just talk about the cover? Wow, look at that. That's basically the cliffside, the water, that's the manor, and these are all the pages drifting out. Genius cover. I love this book. So yeah, that's all the books I read in April. It was a slumpy month, but I think now that I'm looking at it, whatever books I did read were like really good books. So I'm happy with the way the month went. I know April was the month where a lot of new releases came out, so let me know if you had some on your list that you finally got to or haven't gotten to. I know there's a few that I haven't gotten to, like Funny Story. I really want to read it. Maybe I'll get to it soon enough, but yeah, I'm really happy with the way my month turned out. And let me know what your month looked like. Let me know what you read, or if you've read any of these as well. Let me know your thoughts. Yeah, that's all I have for April. I'll see you guys for the next video, which will be the Betting on You book talk. Like I said, I have a whole book talk on Betting on You, right? That will be coming out in a few days as well. So watch out for that. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys on the next one.